Should we start?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we'll start with a quick introduction and then we'll start with our discussion. So, Yogesh.
Hi. I am Yogesh.
Leave it here.
I am Yogesh. Good afternoon to all of you. I come from ABFRL. I handle supply chain for the TCNS division of ABFRL. We are basically a women's ethnic wear brand. W Aurelia are the brands that we go by, and I take care of supply chain. Prior to TCNS ABFRL, I was in Titan, and I have worked in various divisions of Titan. When it comes to the areas of interest or the areas where I have worked, retail strategy, products, and supply chain are the key areas of interest for me. Business excellence, since I was a part of Tata Group for quite some time, so business excellence and technology are the subjects which are extremely close to my heart. Yeah, so looking forward to a great discussion on the supply chain front and this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Rajesh.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rajiv Quatra. I am founder at Sketa Consulting. So before starting Sketa Consulting, I was 12 years into management consulting, where I have closely worked on transformation projects in multiple sectors, including CPG, FMCG, automobile, textile, and it has been very versatile experience, basically taking companies to a journey of growth. And I would say for me, on a personal front, the life has been full circle. My family had a business, and then business, it demands lot of time, lot of pains are there, you have to run day to day. And then there was this constantly push that okay, the business is there, but you go and explore something in the higher education, all that part. So I went to MBA, did the job, and now again I've been back into starting my business, and it has been 1 year. So I would say it has been lots of challenges which are coming. There are wins, there are difficult times, but the journey has been very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am Tara Singh Chahat, and when I look from the supply chain perspective, my introduction is I am core by education. I am the core supply chain person. I am production and industrial engineer. So that is core, and after that I have done my PGDI in supply chain from NITI. That is my core, and in initial years of my job also, I used to handle pure supply chain. So I was sales operation manager, I was demand planner. So mainly I have handled planning side of supply chain for initial 3 to 4 years before moving or jumping to the sales and marketing function. So this is about me.
Hi guys, good afternoon. My name is Shrikant Shah. So actually we are all from the same college. Background is supply chain. So when 4 supply chain people sit now, so there may be a 2 hours debate also. The good part is regarding my career, and so post NITI, initial 5-6 years I worked in 4 supply chain, like in procurement. I was with Asian Paints. So at that time Mr. Manish Chokshi was there in long back 2006. His vision was that Asian Paints will be the one company where company will decide what to sell, not dealer or so. I think that is the huge, and that time kind of technology. I still remember supply chain planner. I2 supply chain planner was of the most first company who implemented in Asian Paints. And then I slowly moved to then again with Tara. I was in J&J for 12 years. First couple of years I was also in demand management, then SNOP, and last 10 to 15 years I am in sales. And sales I have seen right from both how the urban, rural, and recent example I am going to the quote ahead how the one case study I want to share with all of you that I will discuss how the edible oil, which is the most uncertain product, how that supply chain can happen, and how the AI tool I will expect how that if we can apply that AI tool in the edible oil industry, I think any industry can use that thing. So let's have a nice discussion over here and see how to.
Thank you. Yeah, so we would like to start our discussion on like as the topic says like the new supply chain playbook. So the question is like, what are the biggest shift we are seeing compared to traditional supply chain approaches in current days or in nowadays scenario?
Maybe there are 2-3 areas where I can see. I come from apparels and fashion background, and I have been into both types of products. The products where the shelf life has been on a higher side when it comes to watches or eyewear, and when it is a fashion driven, apparels is a very short life cycle per se from the seller point of view. So in the current role, one of the areas where I see the supply chain playbook is changing or it is getting drastically impacted, and where the change is for good and the speed is something which is trying to get forced into the system, is in terms of the localization of merchandise or localization of products for the customer. So your customers in terms of tastes, in terms of likes, in terms of preferences vary region to region, and in our case we talk about 25 different states, 26 states, so those many customers is what we are talking about. How can we localize our merchandise or our products? So while we are into ethnic wear, is ethnic wear that we create is the only ethnic wear that people use, or across the geographies it will vary? Not only vary in terms of styles and designs, but also in terms of fits, finishes, the color and all these things. So this is one of the areas where I see where AI or where tech is coming in a big way, where we can localize the merchandise, not only from the product point of view, and hence also in terms of how fast you are able to curate your store merchandise accordingly. So if this is the merchandise that we have, which is the best place it can get sold into? So should it be put into 5 locations in Bangalore and another 7 locations in Chennai and that way, or it has to have a certain different merchandise plan? So these are 2 areas wherein on the go, depending on the sales pattern, depending on the insights that you are able to derive from your sales performance, you are able to curate merchandise in the first place which is fit for this thing. On the other side, how fast you are able to hence design what type of or which stores or which outlets or which locations are you going to put that merchandise. This is from the product point of view which I feel. On the supply chain side, that is on the back end side, if we see, if we take warehousing and logistics, so logistics is one area where I feel there are humongous amount of changes which are happening by the B2Cs coming in, by the e-com and the omnis which are coming in. I think supply chain is one area which can impact a lot of these elements, and which where it is impacting a lot of these elements. If I take an example of omni, and there is a lot of work which we are attempting to do, there are a lot of projects which we are running on. I have a physical store in place, so I am already a brick and mortar retail, and I am also into B2C. B2C would be about 20% of my business. Today for that I am managing my warehouses and I am creating a separate setup through which I am running my B2C setup. How do I use Omni as a concept and try to make that thing more and more impactful? One thing is in terms of increasing my overall business footprint, my presence, and because once I am onto a Omni channel, then there is no pin code restriction for me. So how I can use my existing retail stores to make my Omni more efficient in terms of reaching the customer faster, as well as how do I use my existing databases that I have in terms of what customers are buying from that store through the Omni channel to curate the merchandise mix in those stores for those customers, and hence take my overall Omni share up as well as grow the business together. So from supply chain point of view, a lot of these data points is where we engage with. and how we can basically leverage them to increase my business, to increase my closeness to customer, how fast I'm able to service the customer. So 2-3 areas where I see on the product side, on the assortment side, and on the warehousing logistics and being closer to the customer side.
So, if I understood it correct, like there are two things over here. Like one is like push supply and one is pull supply. So pull supply is like whatever you got order, you have to supply it, and when it is push, that means like you are deciding on what is the demand and what could be the demand, based on that you are supplying it. So more towards like push supply you are able.
So there is some amount of push which happens. So initially you will take some amount of data is always there for you to decide how do you start your season. Beyond a certain point there is a lot of pull which comes in. Now if I know what is the type of omni-channel demand and how do I leverage more on that, that becomes more of a pull. So there is some amount of push which has to be there to get started with the season, to get started with the products. After that the pull comes into a big way. And a lot of these pull based systems are now getting implemented also in fashion, where it is more in terms of, though it is fashion and though it has a shorter shelf life, we are curating processes and mechanisms through which you can still make it pull. You cannot avoid some amount of push because you need to still get started with the season or get started with this.
You have to start some.
Yeah.
So that element of push is still there. But after that, you basically whatever is getting sold, you are working on that pull part.
So what I was trying to get over here is like the data, the decision point is more towards push only, right? Like because pull is like anyway it has to be supplied, or there is some alteration on the pull also, based on the data, that the modelization and supply chain.
So in fashion, particularly now, when you are placing a SKU, you have to at least think this SKU you have to place. So that is first element of push. After that, you supply what is selling. If it is not sold, then the pull comes in. So it's a mix of the initial, you have to starting push is the push, and then the pull supply chain.
So as we are talking about the what has changed in supply chain and what is evolving, I see a drastic change the way supply chain used to happen or supply chain used to work 20 years back and now, and it is phenomenal, amazing, and it is helping a lot. So I simply say, okay, at one point of time, 20 years back, you were not able to think if you have to send some stock or something, or any item of yours from one place to another place. Now, I was surprised to see the kind of supply chain Porter has. So from human perspective, from consumer perspective, it is amazing. Whatever you want to send, you just use the tech, do your booking, and then you give that thing to that person, and that person will deliver. That person. So that changes humongous. Second thing is, globally, whatever you like in this world, and if you want that, you can get it. This is the situation as on today, because I have seen the days where people who used to remain in Middle East and the supply chain, so there was no communication or anything. The person who used to go from one village to Middle East, that person used to carry multiple items of that person in the Middle East. But now, in next day or next to next day, whatever you want to send from one country to another country, that is available. So that is the phenomenal change if I look from the basic consumer perspective, and it is amazing change, and it is possible only through tech. Without tech it cannot be done. That is my point of view in terms of new supply chain from the consumer perspective, base consumer perspective. If I look from the organization perspective also, in organization perspective, now supply chain is evolving. It is getting more professional. For supply chain, it is not only trucks, it is the infrastructure also. now you will see the kind of infrastructure, whether it is the road infrastructure, whether it is the train infrastructure, or whether it is the cargo infrastructure. All these infrastructures have evolved a lot. Now on the roads also, if you will see, from comfort wise or speed wise, that time has reduced drastically, and that is changing many things, because it is saving a lot of cost. One thing which I have learned in my college days, especially, supply chain is not the value addition. Okay, it is cost. It is cost. But now that has started reducing. That is seen as a value added thing as of now, rather than only cost, which was the case at one point of time. So two big things I can see from infrastructure perspective, from organization perspective, and from consumer perspective.
Yeah, but I agree to what you are saying. Like on Amazon, like whatever can be delivered today has lot more chances of selling than after 3 days or something. So that is the value addition of that particular part there. Earlier it was
Right. So I think if we see now, moving towards consumer, so the genesis has been the personalization. Means supply chain, the primary objective is to service the customer. That is the goal of supply chain. Now the trend has been, the biggest trend has been on the personalization. Means from generics to specific. Like Tara was saying, something you want in UAE, ship it in 2 days. So this trend is not new. It has been across industries at certain point of time. It started with cars. Ford started with say black car. Then there was an element of customization. Then Dell came up with computers where you can customize. Now but there was a challenge with CPG industries, FMCG, that you have so much of customers, so much of SKUs. So this was not possible. But what happened was, with D2C companies coming in, they had this excess of data specific to customers. The tech came up, which enabled knowing your customer and telling that this is what you require. And now the supply chains have to align accordingly. So this is the biggest trend in terms of, if I talk about specifically CPG, how can we move towards, like if I talk about India, we used to classify India itself has 4 countries: South, North, West, East, all are different. But now we are saying each retail shop is different, and that is the biggest lever in terms of satisfying customer, and that is driving the entire supply chains also, in terms of the data we collect, how we process, and then can we act on it. We were talking in the last panel also how to act on that. So this is one of the things which is moving.
I think one of the points, which I very closely observe and experience on a day in day out basis is, supply chain is no more a silo per se. It is very well integrated with your customer. So previously the discussions, if you see from one location to other location, typically we'll discuss in terms of TAT. यहाँ से वहाँ माल जाने के लिए कितना टाइम लगेगा, 4 दिन लगेगा, 4 दिन. Now the discussions are no more in terms of this is what is possible. The way the discussions happen is, you will have your sales team or your retail and sales team with whom you would sit together, and you would arrive at what is the expectation rather than this is possible. So in every aspect, and not only with the supply chain, but every aspect of the business, whether it is design, whether it is production, so everybody is now keeping the customer in the center, trying to understand typically what are his pain points, expectations, whatever we are trying to solve through our products and services, and hence try to curate our mechanisms or our service delivery mechanisms to that. For that, there is a lot of advancement which is happening in terms of tech available, data available, interactions and all, and you try to curate and you try to see, okay, which are the biggest pain points which my customer is facing, and hence which I need to provide a solution for. So how close you go to a customer to really understand his pain point, not only as a supply chain, but every business function, and that is driving a lot of these improvements. What happens if you don't do it? And that is where we are seeing that if you don't do it, it means that it's not that nobody else is doing it. you will always find there are other companies and hence other products and other services which will come and they are becoming hit and super hit.
They
Except-
perform better.
Yeah.
So that is becoming the need of the hour. You have to be specific.
People.
I think in addition to all of this thing, best part what I observed and the industry is also the accessibility of real-time data. I think down the line 5 years, 10 years before that real-time access of data. Right now what is happening for store level to supplier level, every data is available. So you can take the decision. Whereas this, there is one good concept if you remember, it's bullwhip effect. You remember, no?
Yeah.
So bullwhip effect is yes, I am in sales, I can sell this much. Then that is the one person, the supplier says that maybe supply issue. So what then is, if the actual demand is 100, the production and everything is 150, 100, 200, and ultimately it's the inventory, ultimately it's the cost. So with this, the real-time data accessibility, I think the next big opportunity for us is taking the right kind of decision. Yes, this is my market demand, this is my supplier constant, so I can prioritize the thing. So I think this will be the big game changer in future.
Yeah. So actually now what has happened, the data has broken all the silos. So earlier the companies used to operate company, then there is a distributor which is a different entity, then there is a retailer. Now what has happened with tech coming in, you know there are SFA, you get to see what a retailer is selling. There is an app at the retailer end, or even the distributor team is having the SFA data which he enters, whatever order he is booking, and that is visible to the companies. So the companies have moved from silo working, where we were talking about, there was a lot of push. Company was saying my billing is primary. Now companies understand the billing, when it is sold to customer, that is when the real sales happen. So data has enabled this kind of breaking those silos and integrating the entire supply chain. And to be frank, as this evolves, you are barely able to differentiate whether this is sales or supply chain. Means what happened was, sales was thought of a skill which is very qualitative, means selling, convincing customers, and supply chain was majorly data driven. But now with data coming in, the sales and supply chain boundary is also decimating, and the wall of company, distributor, retail, that has also gone away.
Yeah. So the next thing, like what we would like to know is like there are some uncertainties in the market. To give you an example, is like the pandemic, whatever we have all seen like twice. Then geographical issues like China, the particular production of some things has been from the Pakistan, all those things, and then inflation as well as like other factors. So how supply chain has cope up with this? Is there any change you have seen in recent past for like coping of these kind of things, or like it is still is like a problem?
I see these issues, what we say, or the short-term issues, they would keep on coming. Today there could be a war, the supply chain disruptions could happen. A lot of regulations are coming from the sustainability point of view. So supply chain, the business supply chains are always going to be challenged with newer and newer challenges. I see that has to be a part and parcel of the entire thing, and we can't do away with that. And that is what would really keep the supply chain managers on their toes. But there are also a lot of new concepts, and as while we are seeing there are boundaries which are getting built, a lot of boundaries are also diminishing, again through the tech, again through various initiatives which are happening, also through various new models which are coming. Like for example, we talk a lot about if cost is a pressure, what do you do? So we keep on benchmarking is one of the ways. We recently did reverse auction of our things. Typically that is something which we had not done, but reverse auction is a very old concept.
Yes.
So we did reverse auction of our logistics routes. You get a good amount of cost reduction, and you get to meet new people, you get to meet new suppliers, you get to meet new technologies, the way they are getting used. And you will be amazed that with these technologies, with these partners, so nowadays running a business is not a standalone job of one organization per se or a group of people in an organization.
Right.
So there is a set of suppliers who are giving you a lot of inputs in terms of what is happening. You may not be knowing what is happening globally, but maybe your supplier who is dealing with fabric, he knows what is happening on the fabric part. You may not be knowing to the T in terms of what is happening on the logistics scenario, if there are new tech which is coming in or new suppliers which are coming, but your logistics people who are dealing with that, they would know those things. You may not be aware fully in terms of how the entire D2C, if you are a typical brick and mortar organization, you won't be aware what is the evolution of D2C which is happening, or new brands which are coming, new concepts which are coming, but you will be dealing with some consultants or some people through which you will get these inputs. So it is no more a silo in which we typically work. It's a bigger ecosystem where there is a huge amount of give and take of information, inputs and all which is happening, and generally it won't pass off as a radar. So the stronger the network an organization builds in terms of its partners, suppliers, employee interactions and all, the better it is poised to face these challenges, be it in terms of sustainability, be it in terms of supply chain constraints or disruptions that we are going to face. And hence new opportunities will come, new avenues of doing business will open up. That's how I see this thing. So while these things are happening, the better the network and organization is, the better is a chance for us to really, I won't say survive, but in these difficult times you can actually thrive. That's how I feel.
So I can add on this, during the pandemic situation, and this is again a real case study. Pandemic situation, I'm giving the example of how edible oil and staples, because that is the most necessary product any time. And how Adani Wilmar evolved in that during those period. So edible oil industry is like, that is you are dependent on someone else. So someone says the crude oil, and then you refine it, and then it will go. And that time, if you remember, entire world logistics was in the big challenge. So how Adani Wilmar, and that's the exact point. If you have a right infrastructure or hefty good infrastructure, so Adani Wilmar 4,000 distributors in all India, okay, and more than 12,000 sub-distributor they had. And because of this, the infrastructure, they evolved. And the most important part, they evolved. Adani Wilmar used to be like, I am the market leader, why I should. That time they evolved the D2C, B2C and everything. That's why there may be situation when pandemic will come, how I can respond to my customer. They started building the other part, like what will be my next 6 month oil consumption or my food atta or rice consumption. They started building those things with the supplier. And earlier it used to be that the market rate is, this is today and this is I will buy and okay, khatam. Now they started the next 6 months with this is my requirement and this is the, and think they have evolved and they have learned, and the technology helped them in a very fast way. When most of the now coming to the sales part, how the oil distributors are, they're like, yeah, but teli to bechna hai, why I need the technology. Now people have started, yes, I need to have DMS in my system so that I can predict or I can understand what are the market trend, how the sales is coming, how the everything is coming. I think this is the way during the pandemic, especially the food industry learned a lot how to build a bigger, better infrastructure. Distributor learned how technology can be used, and strategic sourcing people also learned how to make a big long-term planning with the suppliers.
So was there any change in kind of a thinking itself, like the way we used to think earlier and post pandemic or post these things?
No, so if you look from that perspective, now systems are much more agile because they have seen one change now, and people are confident, okay, if some issue will come, then they will figure out the other way, because now every day you see what is happening in terms of global logistics, because there are threats to ships also, because the ships are not able to move. Then at the time of pandemic, this entire cost went up, supply chain cost went up, that has impacted a lot. But now people have figured out the alternate ways also. And learning from this pandemic, I was recently reading one post from one of the colleague in J&J, that colleague visited one port in China, in one city, and then that person was telling ki, okay, it is the person-less, all AGVs are there, automatic guided vehicles are there, they are being used in supply chain. So supply chain is not dependent only on people. Now it is getting more and more automatic, uh, people independent. So that is the change which is happening. And if any kind of worse situation will come, now people are more prepared in terms of supply chain compared to what happened at the time of pandemic. And people have learned okay, how to handle these kind of situation in these kind of environments, because two things: pandemic they have seen the pandemic twice. Second is, now wars are the normal life in this world. Some war is happening in Russia, Ukraine. Again, your entire supply chain of your grains got disturbed. Then now this war happened, which was happening since last 10-12 days, and then oil prices is a dependent on the supply chain. So but now people have the technology, they can respond faster and they can handle it in a better way. So that is my take on the things, the way these have changed from the bigger industrial perspective, not only from the consumer perspective.
Okay. Next question is like how companies are using real-time data in AI, predictive analytics, all those things in supply chain to like improve visibility and responsibility. Sorry, responsiveness.
Yeah. So just to add to this, real-time data. So in a retail context, if I see, I have seen supply chains where when a store is selling something, they are working on an entire replenishment system, which has, so lead time, if you see from cotton to a shirt, the lead time is as high as 90 days, 120 days. So what happens is, a shirt is getting sold at a retail, or even something is getting sold, the trigger goes to the central warehouse that this is consumed, they replenish it, then the trigger goes to the vendors to the fabric vendors. So this kind of integration of the entire supply chain of the real-time data in a lag of few hours. So today what is getting sold, the vendor, the 120 days lead time which is there, he gets a trigger that this is what is getting sold, then he aligns. It does not mean that he produces that, but he is able to see and use that data in terms of aligning his production and align his planning. So this is what the data has played a role. And in FMCG also, you see the lead times are typically 45 days, 60 days. Then there is lot of imported also. So the data plays a critical role into the demand sensing part. That is one piece.
So if you look from technology perspective, now people have started using supply chain control towers. So earlier all those things were happening in silos, but now whether are the bigger companies or even consulting companies, they are recommending supply chain control towers. So these are not only 4 pillars of supply chain, which is your plan, source, make or deliver. On top of that, they are building control towers. They are linking all these verticals put together, which was not happening earlier. And they are using data end to end for doing that. That is helping in terms of efficiency. And what is happening? Two things are happening in this majorly. One is earlier mindset was ki, okay, let me let me reduce the out of stocks. Now the approach is slightly different. Okay, if we have to keep this fill rate, then how this entire supply chain will work, rather than running behind the order versus supply. So that mindset shift has happened in some of the global organization, and that is required also, because now you see, you keep hearing from Indian perspective, this dark store got closed, this dark store got closed, and 10-minute supplies. All these things cannot be done without data. 10-minute supply chain control, where you know uh, what is happening in terms of supply chain. If data is not that, you will not be, no. I'll give you extremely simple example of supply chain. Now today morning I needed some file. By that time I reached in a hotel, files were here, those got delivered. So that is the real consumer use of supply chain. So and that cannot be done without the use of technology. I was fully aware that okay, person has reached, this has been dispatched from here, now it has been delivered, and this is done using data, and whether it is from the bigger organization perspective or from the consumer perspective. So huge amount of data, if you are able to integrate, it is going to help, and which is helping even now also, and we have reached at a good stage in supply chain from overall perspective also in India.
So they just see.
I think one example I'll give here in terms of how the data is shaping the way we approach, the way we work. So I'm a big believer in the TOC methodology. Okay, and we have been using it for quite some time now. So one of the challenges typically a retailer faces is you will always have wrong stock in some place, and it would be across. So you will have products, a lot of good stock would be there, but there is also a wrong stock. But wrong stock for a particular location might not be a wrong stock for the system. Very unlikely. It's always some good stock or right stock for some other location. It's just not there in the right place. So having the right stock in the right place, while we say this thing, we end up still having those issues in terms of stock being there in the wrong place. Now from data point of view, if you see, I think there are tools which would have been telling you maybe a decade back also that this is a stock which is in the wrong place, it needs to be moved to this location, this is the location which is the right place, and that data maybe we would be having even maybe 10 years back also, that information was available. The biggest problem there was, so information availability के कुछ तो करना चाहिए इस पे, that was there. You didn't have a methodology to do it. So अभी तो पता है कि ये 10 पीस यहाँ से वहाँ move कर सकते हैं. But then did you have a concept of inter-store transfer or inter-business transfers? Maybe to some extent that was there. Did you have the ecosystem to support that? थोड़ा सा question mark था, because that time people would have been dealing really with bulk movement of stocks. Now if you see in 2025 when we are discussing, there are so many people, so many concepts which have come, wherein now that same data you can actually put into action, wherein whatever is an unwanted stock, and especially when we talk about apparels, the biggest problem that we face in our categories, our products are generally not bad. Our products will all, majority they would be good. The problem is uska size set cut hota hai, what we call as one of the holiest metrics that we track for any apparel store is, if I have a design, all the sizes of that design has to be available. If it is not available, we call it as a size set or invalid stock, and technically you can't sell that product at full price, and hence you will take it into the back room or you will not expose it to customers. So it may be your fast selling variants, लेकिन validity खत्म हो गया तो you will keep it in the back room. How to make it valid decides what is going to be the real cash that you will make, because full price sale of the product, and that decides the for apparels industry, that decides the profitability. So inter-store transfer, inter-business transfer. So from data point of view now into the actioning. In that actioning, the biggest problem what you were facing was ki while I am moving it from one location in some part of North India to some location in some part of South India, where is that visibility and that data, that stock, everything moving properly from one location to other? Now if you see through the dashboard that you have, the transport management system, the logistics management system, all these tools which have come in, a good amount of visibility now you have in terms of not only I am able to decide what needs to move from where, I am able to I am able to give that stock to a person who can deliver it in the best possible way, in the fastest possible time, maybe at the best possible cost. And while it is moving from one location to other, I also know that my stocks are safe. There is going to be no pilferage or damage of the stock, so that from one place to other when it moves, the acceptance of that stock is going to be good. So this is where the data actioning and the evolution of the entire system is helping the supply chain, and hence as a business it is helping you grow, because previously your stock or sell-throughs would have stopped at maybe 70-75%. Now you can dream of having a season sell-through of about 80-85%. So that's the shift which is happening with the data availability and the actioning which you are able to do.
Yeah, the ecosystem has evolved such a way that even if you see, go to a store today, you can book a home delivery for that customer.
Absolutely.
From the other store, the omni channel we were talking about. So that has been the building of the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, you're right, because I have seen like other vendors using other delivery channels and like across the
Right.
Yeah, so we are running out of time, so we have to. It's going really good, but we have to stop it here. We are open for questions for like 4-5 minutes, and then Mike. ये रखे सिका
Hello, yeah. So I have two things to ask. One is open to the entire panel. It is on the last mile operations. So what we are typically seeing is that the delivery from the distributor to retailers happen through a fixed driver vehicle model. Generally, distributors have their own employees as drivers. In the current gig economy of the workforce, wherein a lot of drivers are moving as riders of Blinkit, Zepto, Zomato, it is the distributors are also finding it incredibly difficult to find or increase multiple beats, delivery beats. Do we see data coming into picture to include the gig economy also in the last mile operations for the FMCG industry? That is one. Other question is to Yogesh, especially in the garment industry, we see that the SKUs are very dynamic in nature. What sells a year back does not sell now. Generally, the M and L size I think are the most running variant. How in that case do we maintain the demand forecasting of such a dynamically changing SKU industry? So those are the two. Open to the panel.
So you're talking about this gig economy. I will take this, and I have seen this journey. So if you look at in the distributor environment, because right now deliveries are happening from certain companies to the consumers. Now we are talking about the from distributor to the retail stores. This is the if I put that. At one point of time, even delivery approached many of the bigger companies for these kind of deliveries to in place of distributor. That process didn't work at that point of time, because current cost which in which distributor is able to supply in the market or in that limited geography, that is very low compared to when organized players are supplying it through gig economy. This experiment was done at one point of time, but that has not worked till now in this. It is because of purely from the cost perspective. But yes, now the trust has come in So trust is already built, because earlier there was big trust issue, but from overall trust perspective, trust is there. You can give your laptop also to that porter person, because that porter will get delivered to somewhere else, or if you are giving your other valuable item also to these people for delivery. Earlier that trust was also not there, because there used to be lot of theft in the distributor warehouse. Forget about these bigger setups. Yes, some companies are experimenting that how this gig economy can work, and uh, when I look at this, when this saturation of online or B2B commerce or D2C commerce will come, after that the next channel is this, from where the smaller organization will get their deliveries started with this gig workers, and some people will come with that kind of marketplace where you can get things delivered. Porter has already started this. So suppose if I can get delivered one order in 30 or 40 rupees to only one retailer irrespective of my route, then my service level is also very high in that case. So I am not saying okay, so whatever order I am getting from the retailer, uh, at one point of time it was started by uh, uh, just just by company, that was the initial company which started all these activities of delivery. uh, that kind of model with the data is going to work in future. Yes, it might take 6 months or 1 year down the line, but that is going to happen. That is from the gig economy perspective.
Yeah. So just adding to this now, there is lot of pressure in terms of porter, gig economy, driver availability, vehicle availability. And what I have seen, not in the last mile, but in the first mile, what is happening is companies are working on how to reduce their vehicle turnaround time. So typically a vehicle, 2 hours of travel, 3 hours of unloading, then 2 hours of going back, 6-7 hours, one day is gone. Now how can we turn around, unload in 1 hour, half hour? So the bigger companies are working on this so that they can be competitive to their vendors, their transportation. And I'm sure this is going to be replicated when it comes to the last mile also. So this is what I see is happening on the ground.
Can you just elaborate on your question size? What you're
I
mentioning?
think it was about that as I mean, against a typical FMCG company wherein I say आशीर्वाद आटा 5 साल से बिक रहा है वही बिकेगा. In a Louis LP का store, probably the design that were there a year back is now not relevant now. So your SKUs or your hero SKUs are also dynamically changing. In that dynamically changing SKU world, how do you maintain the demand forecasting and how much are the errors there? Because what will sell is quite hard to analyze, I guess, because it is not what has sold earlier will now sell again.
So that's why when I initially mentioned, so we are true believers in TOC. Reason being, so we don't do any forecasting. There is no way in which any forecasting will work, because for any of these now if you see 2 categories or 3-4 categories where I have worked, watches as a category was still a longer life cycle product, that I can have that product for at least some 3 season, 4 season. If you see, there would be some watches people would cherish for years together, and Titan would be manufacturing that for 20 years. When it comes to apparels, we are talking about 6 months window. So forecasting to hota nahi hai. So the real success of your business planning happens in what we call as the retail financial planning, store level sales planning, what you do, and hence breaking down that at a category level. That is the only level of accuracy that you can get, and hence you can check all your metrics at that level. You try to go at an SKU level and all, that is quite difficult to achieve. While you will looking at the product itself, if you take a survey, we do a lot of these things, a lot of data get captured to back our intuition or our designers confidence in some products, and hence to decide beforehand if something needs to be produced more, something needs to be produced less. We wait for maybe we just wait for 15 days data to decide on the reorders that needs to be done. So reordering as a process also comes in place. some amount of budget of our plan also is kept for some styles which I might not be banking on, but my competition might launch. So मेरे को थोड़ा सा वो for example cord set could be one of the big success in the market. So cord set करना है. In winter some new styles could come. So I need to have some budget. So a lot of these windows or windows of opportunities are kept open when you are doing this thing. So no forecasting first of all, a lot in terms of, and also at the same time you have to take care of the spread of your product. The once that is done, the entire energy and effort of the team or of the business is to ensure that whatever styles you have placed in whatever locations that you have, how do you ensure maximum validity of that? Validity when I meant by is size set. So all sizes should be there. If and any business which is able to manage its supply chain as well as the product creation process. In creation, if you have betted well on some products and they do well, you are successful. And managing the validity, generally you are good in that. One very I would say surprising experience that we had, and very recently, and since I deal with ladies apparels, the behavior of ladies is something which we got to know here. The factory outlets, what we call as, or the outlet stores, the value stores, okay? Old season merchandise, typically what you would sell. Typically as a retailer, what we would say is कि अच्छा discount दे दो, माल बिक जाएगा. And hence when you go to those stores, typically if you go to a brand store, you will find at a style level the products would be put. एक style होगा, उसके सभी sizes दिखेंगे आपको. You go to a factory outlet or you go to a outlet during the end of season sale, you will find सब size level पे होता है. एक गंडोला रहेगा पूरा साइज पे, एक स्मॉल का रहेगा, एक मीडियम का रहेगा, लार्ज का रहेगा. We were experiencing के for our category of product, our factory outlets are not doing well, and that was the typical experience that we were having. So when we compare with other Madura brands, their outlets were doing good and everything was similar. That's when we probed with the customers and tried to understand their buying behavior. They said कि नहीं, मेरे को आप size wise मत देना, मेरे को जो product अच्छा लगेगा उसका मेरे को size चाहिए. So the customer there, he is deciding on a product, and then they are saying, so now for us there is technically no difference between a regular full price sale करने वाला exclusive brand outlet that I have and a factory outlet. The only difference would be in one outlet I would have products which would be the fresh season products, in the other maybe it could be the older season products. Size set दोनों जगह पे valid होना चाहिए. And when we did that, we saw humongous results in terms of, so understanding the buyer behavior. So sizes for us, if you see, the sizes are so sacrosanct कि sizes रखो sale हो जाएगा. And the retail financial planning you do in such a way where you take care of your older inventory, current inventory, and try to balance out that thing. You need not be 100% accurate, because season on season is what you plan. You are not there only for one season. So if something goes wrong, there is next season where you can correct it. Keep on learning, keep on improving the things. That's how we look at it. But understanding the customer, being closer to customer and taking those hints from what the customer is expecting, that is extremely crucial. That's how we see this thing.
Thank you all. We are running out of time, so we have to stop it. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So, Navneet, so I would request Mudit to hand over the certificates to the panelists. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. So thanks everybody. Now we will have lunch. So earlier we kept a little more time, but we will keep around 40 minutes for lunch, and after that we will come back for the next, next panel session.